All right. Okay, so first I want to introduce you to the deputy captain, the foundation of it all, Martha Bousfield.
I told him not to say that, and he said, okay. Okay, I don't trust you anymore, Sabran. So we just wanted to thank you all so very much for being here with us tonight. It means a lot to us to have you here, and that you made the effort and got here. And our whole team really appreciates your backup, your help in the pavilion here, the awesome setup crew that worked for weeks before the rest of us even got here, getting this all set up. Doesn't it look incredible? And Sam and I wanted to acknowledge each of you for what you have done to help us make this Switchblade dream a reality. We were talking about it, and he said, you know, that would take hours. Literally. I mean, look at this group here, right? And all that each of you have done to help us. So instead of individually acknowledging everyone, I would like to invite you all to raise a glass. This is to all of you for your help, your backup, your counsel, your friendship, and for believing in us. Thank you. And we'd like to, I thought that you would enjoy hearing from our wonderful test pilot, Ron McElroy, who's been with us for a number of years, and so he's going to say a few words. Ron?
Hey everybody, thanks for having me here, and I told her not to say that also, and she said, okay. No, just joking. That didn't really happen. Well, Martha and Sam just wanted to have me tell you a little bit about my background, who I am, where I come from, you know, because they're putting a lot of trust in me, and I'm putting a lot of trust in them. Mutual trust is to get this bird off the ground. So just a little bit about me, just so you know where the first pilot for this project is coming from. I was in the Air Force, went to the Air Force Test Pilot School a number of years ago, and so I've kind of been a test pilot since, I don't even want to say the number of years. It's been over 30 years off and on as a test pilot. Worked on the C-17. I was one of the first pilots on that, a number of projects for NASA and the DoD, and then some other general aviation test project as well along the way. Currently, I do a lot of flight test work with the giant Boeing company, as they say, out in Seattle, and some other companies like Hartzell and Piper Aircraft, Cirrus Jet. I was one of the lead project pilots on that for the FAA, and so I've had a fair amount of flight test experience. And so that's just a little bit about my background. If you want to know anything more, just feel free to ask. But I met these two and their team about 11 years ago, I guess it was, right here at Oshkosh. There was a little tent booth down the street here a little bit. 2008, it was my first year at Oshkosh, as a matter of fact, and I saw this really, really sexy, futuristic-looking thing sitting out there on the ramp, and I just had to know more. And so I just let them know who I was, and hey, if you need any help from a test pilot in the future, we'll stay in touch. And that's kind of where we are today. But somebody asked me earlier, is Sam a fan of that futuristic cartoon out there? I said, what are you talking about? And he said, the Jetsons, And I kind of feel like Sam has that future vision of the way transportation could be. You guys remember the Jetsons cartoon, right? And some of those machines. I think Sam could probably make one of those happen one of these days. And as a matter of fact, I think he's well on his way, just starting with the Switchblade. But the reason I'm still standing here today is because I believe in what they've done, the process. As a test pilot, I really have to look at the engineering, the technical things behind this project, and I know that I think you've even flown a radio control model of this in the past. You've had extensive wind tunnel data, and we've looked at some engineering stuff together. And besides the fact that it just looks terribly sexy, I'm just happy to be a part of the project and get ready to fly on Thursday. So nobody caught that. Nobody caught that. Okay, when's it supposed to fly? On Thursday. Okay. So with that, I'll be here all night. Well, for at least for a little bit, and I'll give the microphone back to Sam. Come talk if you want to.
All right. Hello again. One thing I like to see, this is what I see, is it's a joyful group, right? I mean, you guys, I don't know what it is, but we have just the greatest guys in this group. So thank you for being such a joyful group. It's very, very fun to work with you. Now, we have a lot to celebrate. Some of this, I'll apologize to my staff right off the bat because we haven't had time actually to tell you some of this, and so it's going to come as a bit of a surprise. But just looking at what we've done with the Switchblade so far, it's really close to the goal right now. This last year, I wrote a partial list of the things that got accomplished. We finished the design and construction of the propeller transmission. We did the parachute install, the design and parachute install. We did the engine install, the transmission install, the prop disconnect install and design, the seats, dash, electrical, avionics, steering, rudders, firewall, radiators, all put in. And that's mostly in the last 6 months. So when you look at that on a project, you're going like, well, okay, that's a little bit of work. So my hat's off to the team for doing that. Some of you most of you put in many, many more hours than is right for me to ask for. And I just wanted to thank you all for doing that. Thank you very much. So what is left? I've spoken with quite a few of you, but I'll fill in just to make sure everybody gets the same thing from the horse's mouth here. What we have left is we have to replace the starter motor on the engine because it's a little bit underpowered. So we have to go back in with a new one. It's on order, should be back home by now, but we'll see when we get there. There's a little bit of cleanup on the electrical system because we went from a 12-volt system to a 24 and a 12-volt system, and now we're going back to a 12-volt system because of the starter situation. And so that'll take a week or two just to clean it up and make sure it's all really good. Let's see, we have the fire extinguisher system to put in, and then we're pretty much, I think, pretty well ready to do engine start, I think. Everything after that is could be done later, but the next thing will be engine start. We'll go ahead and do ground testing, do prop testing on the ground, stationary prop testing, and then we'll also, right before that, I missed one, which is using the prop as a air brake, so we can use it as a dynamometer, and that's a tool that allows you to tune an engine. So right now this engine is not tuned for this application and these computers. We have dual computers. It was never set up for dual computers. So we're going to do a dual computer setup with it, and that will take a little bit, like 4 or 5 days at least, something like that. So those are the things that we need to do before we get into taxi testing, and then that successfully go on to flight testing. If it isn't successful on any of those steps, we just pause there, fix it, and go on like we have, right? That's just the way through this kind of thing. So that's the kind of steps left to go to first flight. Into the future past that, so we go through the test flight, several weeks process, kind of flesh it all out, and then we take all of that data, we'll make some tweaks along the way as we do flight testing, I'm sure, but then we also will just gather the data and then do about a 4-month almost engineering review so that we can see what all needs to happen to get into production. Change that over into the molds. There's a few molds that will have to be tweaked. The wing molds. You see this gap here? This is because we had an incorrect hinge location from the engineering group. It's just the way it does. You know, not everybody gets it right the first time. I'm guilty of that 10 times over. So it should have been hinged higher up, and when you go up with it, you have to have a gap the way it's hinged. So we're going to redo that so that the hinge is centered on it. We'll get rid of this and look more like the flap area. It'll be tighter and less noisy and cleaner. So a few things like that, and then we'll incorporate that into the first 3, I'll say, test vehicle fleet that we're going to build. It'll take, I'm going to guess, 8 months to build that test fleet, those first 3. I think that's pretty aggressive, really, because this first one took 11 years. But, you know, we have a lot of the molds already. You know, we can knock it out. We'll get other people to make parts and assemblies for us, so we'll try and fast track that as much as we can. And then once those are out and running and we feel like that's good and tested, we're going to go ahead and build 25 in a temporary facility. And it'll be, my thinking is now what I know, it'll be 25 pre-flights straight through, no limited editions. That would be my interest. So, okay, we like that idea. Now you got to realize that we've only built now 4 planes before we launch on that first 25. There's still going to be some issues that'll crop up. I mean, you got to be real about it, right? It's, you can only fast track it so far, and then you know you're going to run into it. So my thinking on the first 25 is that we give 12 months worth of maintenance free of charge, 12 months of maintenance free of charge, and then we also send a mechanic out to each person of the 25 on a monthly basis. So we're going to rotate the mechanic around just to make sure that everything looks good from the mechanical point of view, that it's tested, and we're spotting those things which might go bad before they happen, if we can at least do that, right? Doesn't mean we catch everything, but we're really trying to use it as a way to spot weakness in the things that we spec, the things that the people are providing to us on the supply side, and things that are made. So that's the, I guess what we'll really do is start on those 25, and then as we do those 25 and watching those 25, we'll be setting up our major facility, which is this 10-11 station assembly line, and all the parts production and all of that goes with it. It's a bit of work to do that. It's not an overnight thing. But what will happen is, as soon as that's up, we can start staffing the first of 3 parallel assembly lines to get this thing kicked off. That means we'll have the first group trained on the assembly line as far as assemblers go, and then they'll train the other 2 assembly lines, and then we'll have the capability of running 3 assembly lines through parallel at one time. And that's, you know, if we need to go further than that, we can always do double shifts, but that means we have to really commit to, we have to see that we have enough interest and demand out there, more sales, to be able to sustain that growth, and probably going way more than you guys want to hear. But the upshot of it is that we're going to be fast-tracking this a bit, because I will tell you, and this is the one thing I haven't been able to tell my staff, we just received, I'll say, a commitment and an agreement in principle on full funding for the Switchblade project. So, pretty good news. So really looking forward to being able to light the fires on this thing and be able to kick the tires sometime very soon. So there you go. I think we had another thing. Oh, I didn't have another thing. It just popped right out of my head. So I'll probably have to tell it to you later when I remember it. Anyways, that's probably the big news. Usually I end up taking questions, but I think tonight let's just have some fun. And you guys can talk to me in the next day or 2 or whatever. You can come up to me individually tonight if you got something burning and you're leaving. And Martha's going to say something. Oh, yes, that's what it was. Thank you. Okay, Martha did a really great thing, okay? She's in charge of reservations. Our sales team backed her up. Guess where we just passed? 1,000. So, yay. Yeehaw. All right. So, as I said, we have a lot to celebrate. So, feel free to celebrate some more. There's probably still some desserts left. I think the bar is still open. We'll see how it goes, okay? Thanks a lot, you guys.